Today's video is about DHT sensitivity, and DHT sensitivity is not the same as blocking DHT directly by medications such as Finasteride and Finasteride or supplements for that matter, but it is actually addressing the reasons why one has become DHT sensitive, why the follicles are affected by DHT, and this is a video that will help you first of all to get treatment that is more effective, but also become less dependent on direct DHT blockers such as Finasteride and Finasteride. And for you guys who are new to the channel, my name is Alex. I'm certified trichologist, previously a hair loss sufferer. I was dealing with hair loss for almost a decade before I was able to regrow back my own hair, and that was 13 years ago, and I have my hair to this day. So when it comes to DHT, there is several ways you can address it, either by topical applications or by DHT blockers such as Finasteride and Finasteride that I have spoken about previous videos. And I personally do take Finasteride. I microdose it just in case you're not aware of it. But there is also an alternative approach to DHT, and it is about reducing DHT sensitivity itself. And this is approach I think will become much more important in the future of addressing the hair loss in more effective ways in terms of actually addressing the root cause why one is becoming more DHT sensitive in the first place. And also additionally, what happens when you become less DHT sensitive is that medication or blockers, for natural DHT blockers as well, they become more effective compared to if one is not addressing DHT sensitivity. So for example, if one is addressing just DHT by blocking it, then it always will require more and more potent approach, more aggressive approach to DHT. But if one actually reduce DHT sensitivity itself, then what can happen is that the medication will also become more effective, like it has for me. And I have been able to just microdose Finasteride, in my case, for example, for last 17 years, and it has still been effective for me. It has still been working for me very well to stop the hair loss progression, stop the mineralization or shrinking of the follicles. And I know over the years I have seen so many guys, for example, who reach out to me about that they have taken Finasteride for a year, 2 or 3 years, and then it stops working and they start to lose gains again. Or for example, they have been on Finasteride and it isn't giving them results they're looking for. So this is important. By addressing DHT sensitivity, you can actually make treatments with medications such as Finasteride and Finasteride more effective and also keep them effective long term in terms of addressing your hair loss. So what is DHT sensitivity? First of all, DHT sensitivity is something that makes like your follicles more affected by DHT. So the more DHT sensitive you are, the more easily follicles will be affected by DHT and the weaker they will become. And to reverse it, you have to actually look into what is possible reasons why you are becoming DHT sensitive. So typically, it could be just, for example, related to the scalp environment. Like, so if your scalp is, for example, out of balance, let's say, for example, there is scalp biome that is not in the right state, or there is, for example, pH balance of the scalp not the right state, or there is, let's say, issues such as excessive sebum, excessive oil, for example, it will cause that follicles will become more weak. And by weakening the follicles, they will also become more exposed to DHT. And this is something that I always have been stressing in my program, for example, in my workbook, or the guys to reach out to me, is that you have to address the scalp environment. You have to have a healthy scalp environment. And that is very important because if the scalp is not healthy, then it will just make the treatment less effective, right? So the scalp environment is very important, and you don't want to have excessive oil, excessive sebum in the scalp, or other unbalances such as dryness, for example, or excessive dry sebum, for example, or dandruff. Those things also will weaken the follicles. So you have to have a scalp in balance, in good state. That's why it is important with topical applications on the scalp, that it is also important to moisturize the scalp from time to time. And if you are doing microneedling like I do, it is important to take care of the scalp so it is always in good state and don't get too dry or too oily, right? So this is important, and it also will help you to reduce DHT sensitivity itself. But let's say, for example, you're someone who has more to the DHT sensitivity besides that the scalp environment itself, right? So for example, if you are having, for example, inflammatory problems on the scalp, it also will cause more DHT sensitivity. Like I remember back when I had a lot of inflammation on my scalp, it made my follicles so much weaker and they would shed so much more easily compared to when my inflammation was addressed. And also additionally, there could be also, for example, microinflammatory problems. Like microinflammation is more like a redness around the follicles itself, and that also causes more DHT sensitivity, right? So each individual follicle has a bit redness around it, right? And if there is a lot of microinflammation, then there can be a lot of redness to the follicle. And this is also definitely a problem that can cause that the hair will become more affected by DHT and they will more easily shed out, or they will continue to mineralize, right? So you have to address, for example, if you are having inflammatory problems on the scalp, that is more like a redness on, let's say, redness around the typical male pattern baldness areas. But if you are having microinflammatory problems, that is more related to the follicle level itself, right? And both of those has to be addressed, especially inflammation, because scalp inflammation will cause that the follicles will become much weaker in a much shorter time frame. And when it comes to internal factors in DHT sensitivity, having a diet that is alkalizing you and also basically making sure that you are doing things in terms of detox, for example, to alkalize your body is also important, right? Because if your body is in the acidity state for too long, it will also cause that you will become more DHT sensitive. And addressing this by right foods, by detoxification, will help you to become less DHT sensitivity by having more alkalized body. And again, you don't have to overdo it, right? But you have to take the right action steps and have a right plan for it to have an alkalized body, because it will help you to have less inflammation and less DHT sensitivity. And liver and kidney functions also is very important when it comes to microinflammatory problems, right? So if you are having, for example, factors that affect your liver, let's say unhealthy lifestyle, unhealthy diet, for example, it will cause more DHT sensitivity. So working on those factors as well is important if you are having this kind of issue. And even if you don't have it, still strong liver, strong kidney is important, right? Because you want to have a healthy body, because again, it will help you to reduce overall inflammation, which again will help you to reduce your DHT sensitivity itself. On right diet and supplements can also help you, right? So for example, if you are having antioxidants in your diet or supplementation, sulfur in your diet, like those things also will help you to make the follicles stronger, and it will also reduce your adhesion activity or adhesion effect on the follicles itself, right? Because thing with follicles is that they are very sensitive to different factors, right? So you have hair growth cycle and you have DHT sensitivity. And if you, for whatever reason, disturb either hair growth cycle or DHT sensitivity by increasing it, it will cause that the follicles will become much weaker and they will shed out or they will continue to mineralize. So those are things I want to share with you in today's video for you guys. And if you are struggling with hair loss, if you are on treatment, for example, with taking Finasteride and you're not seeing any results from it, or your hair are still shedding, you need to find a solution for it. And hold the Rapid Formal Workbook, which has all the essential steps you need if you want to do it yourself. Thanks for watching this video, guys, and see you next time.